Good evening, everyone. I'm Sujata Pawar. I'm the founder of Avni. At Avni, we are basically working on detoxifying the way women experience their menstrual cycles as a whole. We are focusing on skin-friendly and eco-friendly menstrual care products. And we also want to include women as much as possible in our entire ecosystem, right from manufacturing of the products to selling them. Our flagship product is a antimicrobial reusable pad. So we are kind of trying to create a very new market here where taking women back to the roots. Thank you.
Thank you, Sujata, and welcome. Shashwat.
Hi guys, I'm Shashwat. I'm the co-founder of Powerhouse. So we run a women wellness brand called Aza. So our flagship product is an organic cotton-based sanitary pad that I designed myself with my friend. So the goal of that brand is basically to solve anything and everything that for a woman that starts from her menstrual cycle, be it acne or any other products, and we focus on quality more than the price. So and what we feel is that if the product is actually solving the problem for the consumer will be willing to pay a good price for it, as long as it's solving a problem. So that's about it.
Thank you, Shashwat. Romita.
Hi everyone, I'm Romita. I'm the founder and CEO of Foxtail. Our brand has a one-line motto. We have high-efficacy skincare products that we are trying to make affordable and reach all points of India. Our brand believes in repeat rate, and the only way to get it is to give customers what they need is products that work. And that's what we're trying to solve and have been trying for the last 1 year.
Hello everyone, my name is Kritagya and I am heading business of Nourish Mantra. So at Nourish Mantra, we are bringing some really good products. We are clubbing science with holistic wellness together, and we are bringing that uniqueness to Indian audience. Thank you.
Good evening everyone, my name is Sudhir. I represent Green Honchos. Green Honchos has been in the Indian context for a decade, when in the name of e-commerce, there were only Rediffs and eBays. We've seen that journey and evolved ourselves. And we have really understood that, what does it take for a brand to set up its own e-commerce operations, be it their own D2C channel, marketplaces. While someone in the previous session said that, there are so many layers of costs that are involved. How do we unit profitable? How do we create a short-term revenue plus a long-term strategy to establish a brand is something which we take care of end-to-end, from technology, marketing, analytics, and online branding. Yeah, that's who we are. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Anurag Kedia. I am the co-founder of a beauty D2C brand called Pilgrim. What we bring to the Indian audience is world beauty, which means we offer different beauty traditions, beauty rituals, and beauty ingredients from different parts of the world. Korean beauty is of course known to everyone today. Similarly, there are more traditions in different parts of the world. So we offer French venotherapy, Spanish squalane, Korean beauty. These are the 3 collections we offer today. Thank you.
Aditya.
Hi everyone, this is Aditya. I'm the co-founder of Beco. We are an eco-friendly and natural home care brand, primarily focusing on products like bamboo toothbrush, laundry detergents, floor cleaners, bathroom cleaners, and everything that all of us use in our homes. It's a primarily eco-friendly and sustainable focused brand.
So Aditya, staying with you, what made you get into this business?
So I think, I guess some of you all might be from Mumbai, but looking at India in general and looking at the world all over, like we've heard of the Great Pacific garbage patch, the plastic patch, which is as big as Manhattan, and some of these stories. But looking at Bombay itself, like every time you think of a beach, it's probably not Mumbai, right? Like it's Goa or it's Thailand or it's Bali, and that's primarily because the amount of trash that we throw today is coming back to haunt not just us, but all our future generations. So sustainability as an angle was looked over, obviously thought over as an idea of the West. However, the problem was still prevalent here dominantly, not just in Mumbai, but in other pockets of the coastal areas of India itself. So the idea was that can we help consumers make that shift, right? Like how we were a part of a beach cleanup and where we had come across this food wrapper. And, I had actually asked my father, when I saw the food wrapper, it was bright orange in color, something that had just been thrown maybe a few months or a few weeks ago at max. And I asked Dad, and he said, you know, Aditya, this is actually of a chocolate which was discontinued in the 1990s. No, so the fact that this has survived for so long made us feel very uneasy. And the simple fact was that if we don't take this, you know, take this experience of a beach cleanup to each and everyone here and help consumers make the difference, then this change is not going to happen. And it's not the guys at the beach who are doing the cleaning. We can ourselves as consumers make smarter and greener choices to build that difference and not let that waste get to the beach, right? So it started off with that simple story, but I think we've evolved a lot more. We've seen opportunities in areas that the consumers want us to innovate. And I think in some way or the other, we are too contributing to sort of, each one of us in our own consumption is contributing to helping save the world or destroy the world, right? So we came in from that angle of helping each one of us to live a better life and also for the planet.
Thanks, Aditya. And Romita, can you please trace the origins of Foxtail for us? Why Foxtail?
Quickly, I'm an ex-banker, ex-venture capitalist. I was at A91 and one of my first investments was sugar. So I was very highly exposed to personal care category in India as well as US when I was there in the Silicon Valley. One of the things that started bothering me a little into my year in VC is when I used to meet skincare founders. They used to say that, you know, our USP is that we can turn around manufacturing in 1 month. And I'm a lazy person. I don't do a lot of makeup, but I care about my skin. So that's one category I cared about, and it was very unsettling to listen to this. And when I came back to India, 3 years in India, every 2 months I would change my brand. And very honestly, as a venture capitalist, that's not a good thing because meko pata tha, there's no repeat rate in this category. That's why we didn't invest in it for the longest time. We used to say it's a treadmill business. So for me, when a combination of my, I would almost say frustration as a user, but also this knowledge that there aren't brands that are commanding repeat rate because they can't win over customer loyalty, provided me an arbitrage, right? I said if I can identify how to make great products, if I can identify how to make the customer come back to me, I can create a 1,000 crore brand, hopefully, much faster, burning less cash, and have something called defensibility in the D2C world. And for me, that was my story of why this started. Of course, it's been a long journey since, but that's how I came around to skincare and Foxtail.
Interesting. And Anurag, you know, when it comes to skincare, you focus on men's skincare, or is it women's skincare, or is it both? How is it?
We are gender neutral.
You're gender neutral. Yeah. And what made you bring this up?
So when we started speaking to consumers, I've been in the beauty wellness space for now close to 15 years. And I've had the privilege of speaking to more than 5,000 consumers over the last 15 years. And what I realized was that consumer preferences were clearly evolving. And one of the trends we were seeing was people were not happy with the Haldi Chandan Kumkum which was available in the market. And they were seeking newer solutions, more effective solutions. And they were also quite exposed to international trends which were happening. And Korean beauty had already started happening. So consumers were already looking for Korean beauty formulated, Korean beauty inspired products. But the Korean beauty brands, the price points are not very India friendly. So we said, is there an opportunity here? But by the time we started researching Korean beauty, we realized that there are equally powerful other beauty traditions who have not done as much marketing and hence are relatively unknown. So, you know, Vinotherapy, which is a French science, and the red wine comes from Bordeaux, that is quite a popular tradition in France, but not easily available in India. So we realized that there were multiple such rituals and traditions which were available across the world, and the Indian consumers were ready for it if it was made available at a price point which was India friendly. So while we operate in the mass premium segment, it's still, you know, 3 to 5x of what the premium FMCG brands sell at. So we are not cheap in the traditional sense. But at the right price point, I think Indian consumers want the best of the world really at their doorstep.
So it's a question to both of you, Romita and you. In terms of the segment that you're in, it's a pretty crowded segment, right? Pretty competitive segment. No fear?
Yeah, in fact, when I speak to investors, they tell me, and in fact, before they tell me, I tell them there are 500 D2C beauty and personal care brands. So as crowded as it gets. But I agree with Romita. I think, you know, if we are able to create a consumer experience which makes them come back and justify the ever-rising Facebook CACs, you know, that is the only solution to, I think, any brand across categories, and more so in our category. So far, I think, you know, we're seeing some very healthy repeat rates, very good feedback. what we think is that many D2C brands have not done the hard work of getting the basics right. And this I'm talking across the consumer journey. We have to realize that we are a personal care beauty brand, so packaging is extremely critical. You pick up almost all the brands, and it's a part of the experience, right? So most beauty brands out there, even some of the larger ones, have not done any work around the kind of communication which is going out on packaging. There are grammatical mistakes. Ingredient lists are not transparently displayed. The websites don't load on time. So the basics have not been right. So our fundamental hypothesis is to begin with, you just do the basics right on each lever, right? Which starts from when the consumer discovers your brand, what is the perception they are creating through the imagery and the communication. When they order a product, is it reaching them on time? Is it reaching in a box, which even if it is not a great unboxing experience, at least is the package secured, right? Where the bottle is not broken when they open the package. In case the bottle is broken, because sometimes bottles will be broken, and they reached out to the customer care, was there a prompt response which was given out? And so on. So the entire consumer journey has to be taken care. As a starting point, if any D2C brand to our mind, if we do the basics right, that's a good starting point. Then if we are able to create delight on some of the levers, hopefully on the product front, if more than anything else, consumers will come back.
I'll just add to that, very honestly, after I entered this space as an entrepreneur, I think competition just means that that's how fast the market is growing. If I start worrying about it, very honestly, every day there's a new skincare brand, so I almost can't for my own mental health. But I will break it down in two parts to what Anurag said, is that competition for D2C brands, very honestly, is not just my category, right? Just say what he said about delivery time, what he said about customer. I'm also competing with Amazon because I'll lose out my customer to Amazon eventually. I'm also competing with Nykaa. So I think as D2C brands, it's not just our category competitors. You're competing with a lot of other marketplaces. You're competing with people who have a full enablement, which we do not. So that's something we are figuring out. It doesn't worry us, it just prompts us to get better at every step of the way. And second, on the category competitors, I have to say this to Anurag, Pilgrim is one of the few skincare brands I respect a lot because there's expertise in the founders. They know, like, I will trust what they are making. If you look at most skincare brands, it comes more as a hobby or it comes more because the category is growing. Right. I'm the founder, but I'm not the expert. I have Dr. Ramesh, who has spent 4 decades at Unilever and Himalaya to build the products that I have built, right? So I think expertise is what is lacking in a lot of founders who are starting in this category. And that's something that few founding teams are able to solve for, and those are the teams I worry about. I don't think I worry about everyone who's taking the advantage of the marketplace work.
Correct. No, while, irrespective of the category that one is in, any D2C brand or any startup for that matter needs to have the SME, the subject matter expertise within. But I think it becomes more pronounced and more underlined in a category like yours because it's quite close impacting, right? So the margin for error, if I might say, is much smaller. So, Kritagya, you claim that you are a holistic wellness brand. What does that mean?
So, holistic wellness. So, idea is from as we are ideated in USA itself. So, idea is like people were searching some brand specific to Ayurveda and some natural care brands over there, and people are also searching for science-backed brand over there. So idea is individually science were not solving problem there. Individually Ayurveda is also not solving the complete problem as well. So we came up with the unique solution with this secret blend. We are also patent pending for that technology. So where we are clubbing science-backed products, ingredients with the Ayurveda, ancient Indian wisdom with that, and fortunately, we are getting enough traction from USA right now. So bringing this complete wellness in a holistic approach to Indian market and USA market, we are successfully launched our 29 SKUs. And out of them, I can proudly say that 12 of our products are really successful right now.
Wonderful. So you're kind of getting back to the roots and kind of rediscovering the efficiencies there, and which is probably, Sujata, that's what you did, and Shashwat probably in a certain sense as well. So would you want to take us through in terms of how did this whole thing come about and, what prompted you to get into this category?
My journey, if I have to really say, it started 20 years back when I started menstruating, which was a dual experience. One, there is a lot of myth and taboos still prevalent under this category. We still don't talk openly about topics like a pad or a cup, menstrual cup. Just before coming up, both of us were discussing. That was one. I've seen my mother practice certain things like not going to temples, not allowing us to go to temples, and then there was no discussion. It's just there, you have to follow. So that is something that was bugging me since then. Life happened, we grew. I faced similar problem. I think almost every woman sitting here, at least a menstruator sitting here, would have experienced rashes and irritation with the conventional pads that are available. And that is bound to happen because the top layer itself is plastic. So I also went through the same. While I was looking for alternatives 10 years back, I realized that the alternative has to be, of course, good for the skin. But we also could see that sustainability as an angle was coming up very, very heavily, and there was a good scope as we see now. So the solution had to take care of both of these. So we started working on a cloth pad, a reusable pad, which was something that I opted for myself as an option. Menstrual cups was not a very big thing that time. So we started developing and ideating on how we can develop a solution which can suit a modern day woman, somebody like me who is traveling every day for work, but still give me the benefit of using the most softest and the most cleanest ingredients that I'm putting close to my intimate areas. So that is where the entire journey started. It's two-pronged, both from the point that we want to break these myths and start engaging conversations around this topic. And the second being, we definitely want to build a range of products which every woman can trust and be rest assured that they are going to take care of all the issues that they are facing.
So to talk us through the social empowerment, the women empowerment, and hence the social impact that you as your brand is achieving.
Yeah, so that's an interesting story. Since the first product that we were developing was a cloth pad, a reusable pad, we developed, there was an antimicrobial technology we incorporated. So when all of that was set, we decided to manufacture, where do we go? Since it was something that was made out of fabrics, it could be easily stitched. Why not engage women? And of course involve them in the entire ecosystem. So that is where the idea came from. My father being a textile engineer, he helped us. That is where we set up our own livelihood project. We employed 25 women who till date stitched. So all our cloth pads that we sell are handcrafted by women. And there's very little machinery that we use. What has happened because of this, of course, there's livelihood generation. They are earning out of doing this. But the second thing is these women have become our ambassadors. So since they are rural based, they go back to their villages and then they are promoting and selling these pads that I'm using, I'm liking them, you also use. The best thing is that in rural India, we still have a majority of women use cloth in some or the other format. So it's just helping us. It's just an enabler.
So you have a network of non-Instagram based influencers.
Yes.
And you're pretty happy about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Shashwat, you obviously started off with trying to solve a small problem. Not a small problem, one problem. And now you've kind of expanded your portfolio. Could you just take us through that journey?
So 3 years back, through my sister, I came across a problem statement wherein I overheard my sister telling my mom about rashes and itchiness. And as a guy, you think that, okay, Whisper and Stay Free is selling in the market, everything's happening, there's no problem as such. So when I came across that problem statement, I realized that if a girl living in Delhi with decent disposable income is facing this problem, God knows how many women must be facing this problem. So we guys did a survey and we realized more than 50% of women were claiming the same problem, that they face rashes and itchiness because of the sanitary pads. And after delving deep into that domain of sanitary pads, we realized that Whisper and Stay Free, their parent companies, they sell a different quality in India, and the same product has a different quality in the West. And this is a prevalent problem in all developing countries. Like you look at Africa, you look at Indonesia, this is a very common problem. So that's where our journey started. We figured out, okay, this seems like a very big market to crack. And as this is a very taboo topic, right? Initially, even I was a little hesitant to ask women as to what their cycle is like, how their experience is like. But over a period of time, we realized that we wanted to get rid of that taboo as such. So if you look at our packaging, our overall experience, we never wanted to portray that our packaging in our box depicts a sanitary pad. Like sanitary pad packets are generally have very loud colors, bright green, bright pink, and they're generally hidden in a dark corner of your closet. You won't put it in your bathroom on a slab. So it started from there, that we said we want to re-envision the entire concept altogether, design a packaging wherein somebody, if they've kept it in their washroom, nobody should actually judge them because they're menstruating. And we developed a new concept in our domain also, which was having disposal bags. And the problem statement that we figured out over there was that generally women tend to wrap their sanitary pads in a newspaper before disposing it. So they wanted a more convenient way wherein it should be discreet, obviously, because no woman wants to tell her family, okay, I've ordered sanitary pads and my cycle is like 15 days down the line. So we re-envisioned the concept, we figured out our product market fit, and coming from two guys who've literally tried every sanitary pad that exists in the US and in India, we realized that if you have the right quality and that product is solving the problem for a consumer, it will sell. So if you take, say, a woman's menstrual cycle, for example, she cannot control her mood swings, she cannot control her cramps. The only choice she has in that particular aspect is the product she uses. So for us, it was a very tough problem to solve because women don't change their pads easily. It's like experimenting, and there are a lot of problems that one faces. Like obviously one is absorption, the other is leakage, etc., etc. So we solved that problem. We figured out a hero product there, and gradually over a period of time, we realized that whatever learnings we've had in the e-commerce domain with a product that essentially we guys can't even try because of our anatomy, we started buying brands in different domains, and we are leveraging our learnings from all the brands that we run, and obviously leveraging the customer base that we have across to figure out the sweet spot for all the customers across different products. Essentially, brand is also, I would say, a superficial thing. It's a culmination of good quality products. So the goal is to figure out sweet spots for customers wherein your product quality is good and you have that core insight on which you double down. So for example, our pads business is, it's essentially one of the worst businesses to get into online. The problem relates to F&B. The value of the good is less and the volume is high. So it's hard to get that unit economics in that ecosystem, but over a period of time, given that our product is a high repeat purchase product, over the past 2 years, we've seen that our marketing costs are going down for that particular brand, and our revenue is going up primarily because 70% of our revenue is driven by repeat customers or word of mouth. So that's our journey with respect to what we guys are doing right now, as well as what the backbone of our learning is, which is pads.
Fantastic. And Ram, you know, when we hear these stories, when we listen to these stories as to how these brands have come up, it's very, very clear they've been challenging stereotypes, they've challenged status quo, they've challenged big brands, they've challenged price points. I guess your price points are higher than the established price points, right? So, you know, who said that, you know, stuff at merchandise at higher price points don't sell? As at Green Honchos, you've obviously worked with a lot of wellness brands, and so how do you see a similar stream of thought amongst them, and how is it that you as a technology or a complete solutions provider kind of help them you know, face up to the market?
See, I think today sitting on this podium, I got to know so many brands and, you know, so many problem statements that are getting solved, right? Now, the study says in the personal care space, people give, there was, and I was just discussing it with the panel, that there was an independent survey that was done by Inc42 Group of some 26,000 users who voluntarily participated in that survey. And, you know, on a scale of 8, they've rated 7.4 to the quality or the experience that they are going to get from the product. And 2.4 out of 8, you know, rating was given to price. Which means today, because it is to do with health, and today people are getting more health conscious. Thanks to pandemic, it has even you know, people have invested on themselves. So be it, you know, a core problem statements, or be it, you know, something to do with sustainability, be it, you know, skincare. The trend what we are observing is, number one, people are moving out from family-based consumption to individual-based consumption. Earlier, we had one life boy, one little soap for everyone. But today, son and daughter and wife and father, probably father, mother would still have the same brand, but son, daughter would definitely have different brands. Correct? So, and yeah, I agree with what Anurag was also saying, that, it is the post-purchase experience which matters a lot. How am I communicating? What we are finding as a trend, that from here to 2025, it will be content to commerce. There will be, I think, there is a saturation point to the extent of running paid marketing and getting traffic. But what brands have to communicate, and core of it, what we have experienced is the product and the product's experience. If the product is good, the experience is good, the post-purchase experience is good, and the best part in this segment is, I used a shampoo, I liked it, I come back, people touched my hair and said, yaar, kal to rukha tha, aaj geela hai, or moisturized hai. Then it's word of mouth, and they're getting their customers, right? And that loyalty, that repeatability is much higher. And that's what we are feeling, that, how brands communicate their story. Honestly, if this was the kind of story that is getting communicated, and not only on product, but the journey, what has gone behind, the view on sustainability, the view on women empowerment, if this is getting percolated with a world-class productivity, product and plug-and-play supply chain, I think the product can do wonders, and that's our experience.
No, that's fantastic. And, coming to that point about content to commerce, right? And Aditya, here's, where I would kind of pick your brains on so that's storytelling. We're essentially talking about the brand, the purpose that it serves, and in general, wrapping a full-blown story around it. Has that been part of your initiatives, or has that been part of your strategic drives?
Yeah, yes. I think, given that the entire gambit of performance marketing and some of these challenges that most D2C brands or founders are facing, I think a paradigm shift towards not just influencers, but community activities which bind customers together. So, for example, Boat is a great example of what they've been able to do with the Boathead program, and just getting people involved in that movement for us, specifically because we stand for a purpose, and I guess all of us do in some way or the other. Community has been a large part of what we're trying to do. I think what pandemic did was, besides the offline community that we had for these cleanups, I think pandemic shifted that to a digital or an online community, which then becomes more scalable, but also that personal touch is missing, so you need to establish that. And that happens through storytelling. Discounts and offers might not be the best way to build it. Like Anurag said, getting the basics right. So just building that initial connect, having the sense of ownership with the community is very important. So people are engaged towards doing meaningful activities, with us. And I think online community is still the most unleveraged platform in India today. Like, if people can build communities around their brands, then I think that's a short way to, just make unit economics work on the customer marketing side of things. So I think cracking community is something that we are trying to do. I don't think so we have done that yet, but I think if we do, we will be one of the few brands who will actually be able to do that, specifically because the purpose that we aligned with is in a way a community can be built around. And I think for each one, there would be opportunities to do that. So I think that's going to be super interesting on how communities are being built and around brands.
No, absolutely. And the first panel discussion post-lunch, we were talking about co-creation. We were talking about how you use customer inputs. It could just be used as an input per se, or it could be used to co-create products, right, within the portfolio. And that's come out as a powerful thing.
Yeah, and also, while working with Diya Mirza and also United Nations, we're working with Nat Geo, Animal Planet, and some of these other platforms. We've realized, like, people like to co-create, they like to suggest new ideas, and they also are feeling, how can I contribute in a certain way, right? So I think just taking that input and using this as a platform to allow people to communicate back is very important, because most of the marketing is just communicating one way. I think community is about getting that communication back and then building and having that discussion and conversation. So I think
and it's not about being formal communities, right? It could be an informal community like all of us here in the room, right? We're talking skincare, we're talking of female healthcare, we're talking of female wellness, we're talking of skincare, we're talking about, global economically conscious products. So let's try an experiment out there. Anything that you would want to tell these people out here on the stage about some product and improvement? Oh, okay, great. Yes, sir. Is that a question or it's a... Perfect, go ahead.
I have.
Yeah, could we know you better, a little better, sir?
So that explains the question. No, so I don't think so any brand is shying away from live commerce. I think most of the brands that, or the founders that I know would want to engage with, building live commerce. I think largely live commerce has been around simple things like Instagram Live, like just, building, like allowing people to ask like AMA sessions and things like that. I think we've seen this in China and US, right? Like live commerce is a big thing. So I think definitely that live commerce play is going to be a lot going forward. Given the pandemic, obviously that rush has come earlier than before. So, I 100% agree with you. I don't think so I think live commerce is going to grow from here on. There's no doubt about that.
If I may just add, I'll add to what Aditya said. You're right, live commerce is a big thing. We constantly hear about it. We discuss it also. I'm sure all of us sitting here at some point discussed it. I don't think it's a question of shying away or not doing it. It's also about the category. If you look at China also, live commerce apparel is a category that does really well. There's a recent company that has gotten funded and they are doing really well. They are still on the stealth mode. They've gotten good funding and they are trying to tap into live commerce from that perspective, right? But they are apparel focused. For example, if I look at skincare, with my 4 SKUs, while I may flirt with the idea of live commerce, there is, at least I don't understand the extent to which I will invest that kind of money and get the right returns. And I'll also tell one more thing, at least for me, and a lot of D2C brands, in India, D2C has become a big thing, but scale only few have achieved. And when you have scale, you have money, you have bandwidth to do it. At our scale, our time is our money, and that is usually less. So we only are able to, like, I would love to do live commerce, right? At least experiment with it. I don't have the bandwidth or the resource right now to do it. So I think it's a combination of these two things, that India D2C is big, but scale is less. As a lot of us will scale, you will see these experiments happening quicker. But I think we are still a year, 2 years away from seeing a lot of D2C brands reach that scale where we have the money and the bandwidth. Yeah. Good to know. I'll go and tell my team. We'll figure something out.
So I think you just got a discount on the subscription. So, yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Akanksha and I'm in the process of setting up my own brand, budding founder, wannabe. I have a question specifically in the beauty segment, right? By virtue of, one, the segment exploding, and two, it being easier to switch from one beauty brand to another, churn is a problem that I'm sure all of you face. What do you think is a solution to that? So let the customer do the whole round, come back to you eventually, and for that, be consistent? Or is there some other secret sauce to this problem that I'm sure most of you or all of us are likely to face?
I think that's a very interesting question because it's all about engagement, right? It's all about how do you make sure, where is it that you draw the line? Where is it that you say, no, I quit, I don't want to run after this customer anymore? Where is it that you think you can arrest the churn and get her back?
Sorry, I didn't get your name. Hi, Akansha. Akansha, I'm sure Anurag, with specific to beauty, might have more inputs than me. I'll tell you, for us, At least for me, right, the thesis is very clear. There will be churn in the market, but it depends on the SKUs you are playing with. Serum is a small market in India if you look at serums, right? There the churn will always be high because it's something that now you feel like vitamin C is brightening you, tomorrow you will feel niacinamide is brightening you, day after tomorrow tranexamic acid will come that will brighten you, right? So it's your Google Trends that will determine what really works for you and you will experiment with it. Almost at a price point of 500 to 1000, you will see a lot of experimentation happening. But very honestly, India is still predominantly a cleanser and moisturizer market, which is almost 10,000 crore of the 14,000 crore market that India is. And if you look at these two categories, Fair & Lovely still has a repeat rate of 80 to 90%, a refill rate in the market, right? Pond's still has a very high repeat rate. Clean & Clear, Himalaya Neem face wash still have a very repeat rate. So at least for us as a brand, we identify products or I would say within the categories, subcategories where we can command a repeat rate. And hence, if you look at my cleanser, I very proudly say it's the best cleanser in the market. It's my favorite product because that's where my repeat rate will come from. My vitamin C is also a great product, but I doubt I will command a repeat rate with this because today I said 15% L-ascorbic acid. Tomorrow there will be 10 brands that will say 20% L-ascorbic acid, and then my customer will go. So I think within the category, that identification of subcategories is how I try to figure out where I can get repeat rates from and not, at least.
If I could come in here, the study says that if probably what, P&G did in 20 years, a MamaEarth has done in 4 years, and Sugar did it in 8 years, the 100 CR mark, right? Basically, even when the products are getting promoted online, right? What really works is if the product has been well researched, not available, you want to come up with something with a price tag. Look at, I'm trying to just draw a parallel. A Neiman's has got 2 SKUs, but then, they've created a market segment and then they're doing extremely well, right? So if you, come up with a product which is non-existent in the market, it is existent but probably is lacking the sustainability, being natural, and then it is, your communication on the storyline behind the product is promoted well. You will always, find the right customers coming into you because our study says that there is a TG for every product line. Okay, it's all about reaching out to them, communicating the story, and this is what we tell the brands with whom we work with is, walk the talk. Whatever you're saying, please mean it. If you say no questions asked, product return, then it has to be no questions asked, product return. So it is these few factors which I think will help you to gain that customer base, over a period of time.
Anyone else wants to add to it?
So Akanksha, to my mind, there are 2 parts to this. The product piece, I think Romita has answered well, that you need to identify a niche where there might be, or even Ram was saying that there might be a niche which is underserved or not served at all, or it may not be served at a specific price point. Price game is not the game I think most D2C brands should be playing, but that could be an opportunity, at least in the short to medium terms. And you just look at the face, right? There are at least 4 commonly recognized skin types, and there are umpteen number of benefits. So, the traditional classification without getting into the how political it has got to say whether it is normal skin or not, but the traditional classification of combination normally dry and oily skin, then skin needs brightening, acne, sebum control, pore refinement, and so on. You draw a grade of this, there are probably, just skin type and skin benefit, you're looking at a grid of 40, 50, 60 grids. Each of them will have unique product offerings. There could be a face wash, a serum, a moisturizer, a sunscreen, a toner, and so on, right? So there is an architecture of 400 to 500 products just on the face side. Then you go on the body. Intimate care as a category was non-existent 10 years back. Then you look at hair and scalp. Even today, scalp is not seen as a separate category compared to hair in India. In Korea, there is a 7-step hair regime and there is a 7-step scalp regime. And then there is a 10-step also. So there is so much possible in beauty that you need to identify the right niche in terms of the product. Second is on the brand front. how do you differentiate as a brand? And this is possibly applicable across categories. How do you differentiate as a brand compared to whatever else is available in the market? If your packaging looks, if you are selling yet another onion oil, which the biggies are selling, and now it is so big that the MNCs have launched an onion oil range, right? So how are you different as a brand if you're a D2C brand? Is there something new which you're offering as a brand proposition? And the product niche which you're catering. I think each niche in India is very, very large. And once we are able to establish trust through 1 or 2 or 3 such niches, then the consumer will allow us the liberty to get into other niches and serve her well.
So I hope that answers your question, Akanksha, and all the very best. See you on stage in the next D2C summit. Okay. Yes, did I see? Okay. Yeah, you could speak up. I mean.
My question is that still whenever the churn comes in our offline spaces, we see a very limited options in the market, or if we are looking at a better brand, we have to still look at international market to get a brand. We've got good products, we've got so much passion, we've got everything here in the D2C brand. So what's actually holding you back to come into aggressive manner into offline spaces? I see MamaEarth now recently setting up spaces in offline spaces, but still there's a lot of reluctancy in D2C brands in coming to offline spaces, because that's a that's a gap we want to bridge, and that's why I will hear.
Yeah, so I already got the question. So what he's essentially, he represents specific malls. So what he's essentially asking is, what's stopping these digital-first, digital-native brands from coming physical to coming to physical spaces?
Data, primarily data. I think that's true for a lot of brands, right? Like
data as in the market.
The access to just touch points of the customer journey, like who's buying what, who is that person? Because you step into any retail store today, you're reluctant on giving your information, your date of birth, or simple things such as your name or your phone number itself, right? But in an online journey, you can always capture all of that. So
no, but Aditya, I'll just stop you here. The reason being, I work with a lot of malls, and they do have a lot of customer data. In fact, we've seen a significant shift in the last 5 years from malls just being real estate spaces to being actually owners of customer experience. Right? Now, malls are talking about visitor experience. Now, that's a huge paradigm shift from what they were, it was about 5 to 6 years back. 5 to 6 years back, it was just a real estate space, return on real estate, return on square feet, that was all that bothered. But now they've got enough and more information, and I can say this with confidence because I do work with some of the largest malls, and the kind of data points that they have, I think it's worthwhile to kind of probably initiate a discussion.
Sorry, I just wanted to add to that it's the difference between, I don't think so brands, I'll tell you why brands are reluctant. It's like setting up a restaurant versus setting up a cloud kitchen, right? You don't need to have the capital investment needed that you're unsure of what works and what doesn't, right? So most of the brands do it once they have a scalable product market fit. And I think at certain scale, some of these things get activated. It would be interesting to see if brands come together and set up brand stores. I think that could be an interesting concept, because in that way, the challenge of setting up capital investment in the beautification of the entire store changes. But I think it's more for brands of a certain scale where you're okay to make that sort of a capital investment while doing it. So if I had to start a restaurant versus a cloud kitchen today, I would do a cloud kitchen first because it's a leaner model to get started.
Absolutely. I think that's the worry.
So, is it just the infrastructure and investment that is making the D2C brands being reluctant, or is it the product? Maybe it's there. We are not competitive enough, ready enough to really compete with established brands, which is there in offline market.
No, I think I'll answer that on your behalf in a certain sense, because I don't think that's the case. Because if that was the case, they won't have. These brands won't have been born or exist, or have this kind of a confidence that can raise the gauntlet up to an HLL or a PNG.
No,
so
definitely D2C brands are catering much. I would go to the extent of saying much better to what existing brands are doing. It's because of the scale of distribution and legacy building in terms of relationships with players, and India is still, let's be honest, a 90% offline mom and pop kirana market, right? And obviously some categories are different than the other. It's very category specific. But I mean, I think D2C brands are doing a much better job in catering to the consumer. So I don't think so we'll not be able to compete on an offline space. It's just the nature of offline, like what Shashwat was also saying, right? Like what sells offline, what sells online, that changes the needle for most of the brands.
Anurag, you wanted to pitch in that.
I think it's a combination of what Aditya is saying and Romita was saying. See, we are young brands, we are young companies. So the resources we have at our disposal are limited. I've run offline businesses for the longest period of my career. And I know how, and these are different skill sets. Running an online business is a different skill set as an organization. And you would know this better than me, that running an offline business is a completely different skill set. And hence, when you are struggling for resources, whether it is the founder's time, bandwidth, whether it is capital, whether it is the other skill set when you're building, would you rather double down on the online skill sets which you have already started building, or would you then dilute your focus in the early stages? Like you said, MamaEarth has started going offline. It is a matter of time that every D2C brand eventually will go omni-channel. What route, etc. they take, whether it is flagship EBOs through malls, whether it is MBOs, whether it is MT, GT, all of that, different brands will answer differently. But I think it's a matter of scale and evolution when we can afford it rather than whether we would do it or not. I think everybody on this panel would want to be offline at some point of time.
So can I play the matchmaker here? Can you commit space in your malls, let's say a pop-up space in your malls, let's say about 50 square feet by 50 feet by 50 square feet, 2,500 square feet. Can you commit a space?
Absolutely. In fact, that's the intent. That was the intent.
Okay.
We completely believe that the brands sitting out here are far, far better in terms of quality as compared to what the brands have been operating in the offline spaces currently. And not just the space, but we are also giving a very infrastructure and a very economical, friendly revenue model to operate in all of our Pacific Mall spaces.
Perfect. Just hold your thoughts there. What if your only investment in this, let me call it a pop-up space.
Sure.
Okay? In this pop-up space experiment of ours, what if your only investment was your inventory?
I'll still not do it now. I'll
Okay.
tell you why. Like Anurag said, of course, it's capital intensive. It's a different skill set. It's a different team. Let's assume that that's not a worry for me, and I'll still. See, GT or MT or mall, offline is something that goes hand in hand with how big your brand is, right? If I today go all over India and I'm in every mall, I have to do ATL. I have to make sure that I'm a well-known brand. There's a reason MamaEarth did offline today and not 4 years down. Today, everyone in India knows what MamaEarth is. If I go and put it in your mall, people will not come and sit. I have done a pop-up in Ghatkopar and people don't because they don't even know Foxtail means what. Is it skin? They don't know it's skincare. So brand awareness plays a big role when it comes to any kind of return that we can see in the offline world. Branding in the online world, performance marketing is expensive, but it's branding. At the end of the day, your top of the funnel is created. When it comes to offline, you cannot create your top of the funnel without doing the more conventional marketing sources like ATL, major branding, etc. Maybe getting a celebrity endorsement, etc. So I will not do it because it's not that I can't afford a 10 lakh overall bandwidth from a monthly perspective. I'll not do it because that 10 lakh calls for another CR of ATL investment, which I can't afford right now. It's not the stage of the company for now. So I am a big believer in offline. I don't think online is my way to go. 2 years down the line, hopefully I'm all over India. But it is branding has to go hand in hand with offline, and branding is a big investment to make, which D2C brands don't make at this stage. We make it when time comes, and with our Series B, Series C, we do it, but that just happens later.
So hear you loud and clear. Aditya, will you take up on that offer?
I think I would be open to it.
Anurag?
This calendar year, yes, which means discussions can start now.
Kritik,
So, like Aditya says, the journey of customer is being difficult to track offline. So
That's okay. We'll take care of that. Yes or no?
No, no, right now. No.
Not at the moment.
I would.
Okay, why not now? Because Romita gave a fairly long explanation in terms of why she won't. Point
Can I
taken.
answer her first? Sorry, can I answer her first?
Can you just hear him out?
Sure,
and then
sure.
probably because we just got 30 seconds left.
Sure.
Unless and until you don't want the wine and cheese which is being served next door, you're welcome to spend the evening with me.
So partially the trigger to go offline is when you know that you're building a brand online. So online, there's one beauty that you don't have offline. So consider going to a normal GT store, right? There are 10,000 products over there that are competing with each other. And then you're, like in my case, when we started off, women generally go to the store and they're like, "Meko whisper chahiye, stay free chahiye." Why will they purchase a product from a brand that is not even backed by a P&G or a Unilever, right?
No, exactly. So that's my question. Why would anyone buy your brand then?
So online, the beauty is you get a 15-second window to tell the problem
Here
statement.
you have a half-an-hour window to explain to the lady in front of you as to why she should buy your brand.
So that again is something that I'm pushing her to know when she's buying the product, rather than her being curious enough to figure out herself and then pulling in that direction.
So I'm just pushing it a little, okay? Storytelling. You need to tell your stories. Put up 4 posters, reach out to them.
Let me ask you a question. When you go to a mall, will you be willing to listen to a 10-minute pitch from someone for a product that you're not even interested in, versus when you're online looking at good pictures, good ads, a problem statement, a solution, and the reasons why the product will work? What will be more compelling for you right now?
No, see, as a destination brand and as a non-destination brand, the journeys are very different. Completely agree. If I'm not looking for a sanitary pad, I will not go there. But if I am looking for a sanitary pad, I don't mind listening to someone who's come up with a product which is expensive than a whisper, right?
Yeah.
So let me hear out what this gentleman has to say. I mean, I'm sure there must be something good about it. I know I'm kind of
then
batting
how
it out
can,
for you.
how can you prove? Like everybody's going to say, "Mera product acha hai, chalta hai."
Let's ask the audience.
How do you prove?
Let's ask
online
the audience.
You have ratings, reviews that can actually give that social proof and validation.
Exactly.
So
Offline, all that has to circle back, right? Now, can you solve Shashwat's problem? Do you think people out here, men, women, all alike, if he opens up as part of a pop-up store in one of the Pacific malls, would you go and have a look at it? Definitely go. She's emphatically saying for a category like yours, she will definitely go. Okay, I don't want to make you uncomfortable, but the whole
then
point
we'll
is
reconsider our decision, like eventually with time.
perfect.
I'll give you live where you will match.
Arey yaar, you are live commerce.
So you don't, sir, I think like with all due respect, you need to talk to women so that you'll understand that like in their category, churn is a big problem.
And
in my category, switching is the big problem. Once a customer switches to us, then we know that she won't go. Like we've got a lot of customers who have moved from India to other countries, and they're reaching out to us saying that all the brands in the other countries are not able to solve our problem. Why don't you ship it internationally? And our pitch to them is, "Kya product se 10 times the price shipping ki hai." So the only option for you right now, before we enter your market, is to tell someone who's traveling to your country to pick it up and carry it for you. So now, by end of this month, we'll be launching in Dubai. And over there, it's again based on customer feedback that we realize that again the problem of rashes, itchiness, and no alternative being available in the market. So the problem that most of us are solving right now is that, say, 10 years back, 15 years back, you used to hear people, right, India में मिलता नहीं है, मैं बाहर से लेके आ जाता हूँ.
Right.
अब वो problem statement ही change हो गई है. Because of information being readily available, आपको कुछ भी चाहिए, आपको इंडिया में मिल सकता है. Essentially, all of us are solving a supply chain problem while creating a brand.
Right.
कि आपको वेस्ट से लेना ही ना पड़े. Just imagine people going to the US and calling an Indian company and saying कि यार आप इंडिया से हमको भेज दो. That is उल्टा हुआ है हमेशा. We've always imported. We've never exported.
That's the change that's happened. Yes.
And that is what we guys are going to change going forward. So we're betting on, essentially, like, I guess all of us will be aligned on the same page. We're betting on consumers who are millennials and Generation Z, for whom, unlike our parents, 100 rupees bacha ke, we won't be able to, like, we won't compromise on 100 rupees. So we won't compromise on our convenience and the efficacy of the product for 100 rupees. We'd rather pay a 100 rupee premium to solve our problem. We are a different generation altogether, and it's just because our disposable income is much higher and we are more aware of the products that are available, what's good and what's not. 10, 15 years back, you never had that data to look at.
Perfect. One last input. Is it a question or is it, okay.
Hi, I'm Hemal and I'm from the medical background and I'm an aspiring entrepreneur in this space. I wanted to know whether there is a changing pharmaceutical or medical device regulatory landscape affecting your products, and if yes, then how are you all coping up with it?
Is there any regulatory
So for
shadows that
example,
on it.
whether sanitary pads fall into medical devices, because there are lots of new regulations coming in, or whether skin creams are falling into certain pharmaceutical category.
So as far as I know, unless you're using an ingredient that is for which you need permission from the government, it's an open market. And secondly, for medical devices, for electronics, I'm aware, you can't import any or create any electronic device without a government approval. So in our case right now, I don't think none of us face that problem that we have to take permission from the government regarding the compliances in order, like for whatever we are selling. But yeah, one thing I would like to mention over here, anything sells online. So on Amazon, there's no, or like on your D2C also, obviously you have to be true, because what you're betting on is that trust from the customer. Once you get that trust, then you can obviously sell, cross-sell, upsell, etc., etc. But what you have to focus on is not to lie to the customers. So on Amazon, I see a lot of products, and even in influencer marketing, what I see is, if one is getting paid and it's not a genuine feedback, then you can't trust what's being sold. I know products that say have 0.2 mg of haldi and it's being sold as a 100% haldi product. That after one point in time is going to backfire.
Yeah,
So-
but point taken, I think there could be health standards which need to be adhered to in certain subcategories. One has to be cognizant about that. Last point, sir. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name, sir. Bharat. Bharat, you were saying something when I interrupted, so probably the last word from you.
Yeah, so I just want to share a case study, not a question. After pandemic, we've realized that the online traffic has been increasing and the customers have been hitting more on online rather than offline spaces. So there's one experiment that we did, which may answer a lot of questions and hesitation. We've picked up 10 D2C brands and invited them in a pop-up spaces in our malls. Okay. And you'll be surprised that 60% of the brands have done positively very good business, and they've been converted into permanent spaces. And that's where the thought came to the developer that we should actually help D2C brands to grow in the offline spaces and maybe bridge the gap, whether it is infrastructure, whether it is initial investment, capital expenditure, or for that matter, connecting the consumer base. So if I have to put it across this way, across 5 malls portfolio that we have a walk-ins of close to about 5 crore annually. And about 60-70% of that customers follow us either on social media or we follow them with our loyalty programs. So it is very, very easy and compatible for us to connect all D2C brands to this consumer base. It is just one bold step that D2C brands and the developer has to take together.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Bharat. I think we need to talk post this. This was a hugely unscripted departure from our discussion, but I'm so glad we did it. Because end of the day, it's all about pushing those boundaries. One last question? You're sure? Okay. Sure, ma'am. Maybe after her?
This for Shashwat, he just mentioned that you find people who say haldi's, there's a mismatch. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a question for you. You just gave the haldi example where people are mentioning wrong values and actually the product has something else. What if you find out your competitors doing something like that? What would you do?
So I cannot control other people's actions. Eventually the customer has to decide, right? I'm building a business for my customers. If they want to cheat on them, eventually time will answer that question to them. I'll tell my story. I won't run after my competitors. So in our case, I'll give you an example, okay?
Yeah.
When we guys started out, our core root problem that we figured out was rashes, right? There were people in the market who were claiming that their pads are biodegradable. There were people in the market who were focusing on convenience, on eco-friendliness. We were focusing on our own thing, and in our case, a lot of women assume that our pads are biodegradable, and there are still some brands that claim that they're biodegradable, but I know they aren't. Only thing I can do is, as she also mentioned, I have limited things to focus on. I would rather focus on my customer than my competitor. That's what Jeff Bezos also did, right? So for me, it doesn't matter what they're doing.
And it's about you being honest in your storytelling.
Yeah, obviously. Like, it takes time to build trust. You can break trust within a matter of minutes, but it'll take you years to build that trust with the customer. Today, in our personal care journey, as opposed to all our fellow colleagues over here who are in cosmetics per se, I know that I have one big advantage, which is I'm tackling, or I have a loyalty towards one product wherein trust factor and that switching cost is so high that if she's stuck to me, she will be stuck to my brand. Tomorrow, if I launch an acne product also, even at say a 200 rupee plus price point, I know I'll be able to sell it because I've got that loyalty from the customer, and that loyalty is solely based on the first trust factor, which is sanitary pads. So sanitary pads, being a very unique product, has a very binary way of getting judgment or feedback from the customer. Either she'll like it or she won't. If she doesn't like it, even if I go to her doorstep and beg her to buy again, she won't buy it. It's just the product that is unique in its way. So in our case, as I said, like our hero products is pads, and that's what we're leveraging while introducing more products. Pads is the reason why customers are coming back to us, and then we cross-sell and upsell. But we don't, like we will never get into onion oil because it's a commodity now in the market, wherein price is the driving factor, it's not quality. And then you have to decide whether you're targeting a premium audience, mass premium or mass market product.
And I think it's all about the trust the brand builds. If you listen to Vikas of PSafe talking, right? So when he extended the brand name PSafe to a lot of the other brands, which don't seem aligned. I mean, if you put up in a marketing class, they will probably shoot it down. But then, you know, that's the trust that the brand carried with it, right? So I think, yeah, you just need to be honest in your own storytelling. One last question from the lady here.
My question to...
a small introduction, please.
I'm Charu Agrawal, and I'm a founder of Asian, which is a apparels brand, women's ethnic brand, now acquired by Mensa. My question to Anurag ji and Foxtail. Anurag ji, you said that beauty mein you need research has to be done, a product has to be good, base has to be very good. पर आपको ऐसा नहीं लगता कि ब्यूटी में रिसर्च से ज़्यादा मार्केटिंग इज व्हाट इज रिक्वायर्ड? मतलब मार्केटिंग ऑफ द प्रोडक्ट, मार्केटिंग ऑफ द ब्रांड. सपोज मैं एक ब्रांड यूज कर रही हूँ, व्हाई वुड आई यूज पिलग्रिम? भले ही आपका रिसर्च बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग है, प्रोडक्ट इज फार बेटर देन अदर प्रोडक्ट्स, बट आई थिंक मार्केटिंग इज, आई मीन मार्केटिंग को ज़्यादा फंड्स चाहिए एज कम्पेयर टू द प्रोडक्ट. दिस इज व्हाट माई फीलिंग्स आर अबाउट द ब्यूटी सेगमेंट. मतलब आप what is your opinion?
See, if a consumer is already very happy with what she is using, there is no reason for her to look out at all. But I think there is a lot of unsaid unhappiness in the minds of the consumers. Otherwise, there is no opportunity for a brand like us. There are also a lot of white spaces and niche opportunities which are not being catered to, and hence the consumer is open to trying out new brands if you are able to demonstrate some level of credibility even in the marketing. After that, however, I mean, even if you do great marketing and you go all out on hiring a celeb and great amplification through influencers, great landing pages, great packaging, the final moment of truth for the consumer is going to be whether she was happy with the product experience after she's opened the jar or after she's opened that bottle of serum. वो लगा के whether she was happy or not. The marketing ends after the bottle is or the jar has reached her home, right? I mean, you would agree as a woman. So both have to be done. I'm not saying that marketing is not important. It is important. Finally, all of us are at the mercy of Mark Zuckerberg, right? Or so that, or Amazon, or Nykaa, one of these guys. So that is important. But the final moment of truth is when she's used the product.
And because 60 to 70% of Green Honcho's profile is all the women wear brands like W, Aurelia, Sabit. I know these are all established brands. See. Again, this is again our experience of working with brands who are new age, right? As they say that, when a rocket propellant takes off, 85% of the fuel is used only at the launch. Once the brand launches, once people start using the product, agar product mein dum hai, and if the post-purchase experience is very good, correct? And you take care of that. And honestly, that doesn't need too much of money. Because what it needs is communication. You are communicating with the customer, you're reaching out, you're talking, you're creating those blogs, communities where people are coming and opening up. And I think feedback has to be taken very positively. I mean, I think I could just conclude it with one last line, which is why online brands like to come in offline later, because in online they can communicate more freely. In a 30 seconds video, probably they can communicate much better than a 10 minutes conversation. And today, video as a commerce is becoming a very powerful tool, because if I'm able to stop that ad and not skip ad, then I've done a good job in a YouTube ad, right? I think it is very important for you to focus on the product. Yes, you would have to do a lot of heavy lifting in the beginning. Follow organic channels, combination of paid and organic, but keep an eye on organic because it is content communication and right product and agility and supply chain goes without saying, will take the product to multiple heights.
I would like to add on his point. Marketing is very important at top of the funnel because see, we all, as a new brand, we all play dumb shit to the customer and to the consumer. So customer empathy and prospect empathy is very, very good point to touch, because if we don't relate to the customer, that what we assume them to understand. So at the top of the funnel, it is very crucial to make them understand that what the product is actually and what we are making for them. And secondary, if your product has value, then how would you communicate to the customer? Then only you can bring to the bottom of the funnel, and once customer purchase it, then post-purchase experience matters.
Well, that's excellent, and right now I'm feeling like the pilot who's just landed the plane and everyone's just rushing to stand up and go out. Please hang on, right? Allow me to do the completing honors. So I think this has been a fantastic discussion. Like I said, the last 20 minutes was kind of off script. Not that we had a script as such, but then it really brought out some new avenues, and I think that's excellent, and that's what these conventions are for, right? Where we explore what is probably not being talked about earlier. So thank you so much. But at the outset, thank you so much, guys. I mean, you guys have been a wonderful audience, and I'm not just saying it for the heck of it. It's really been good having you around. We'll see you tomorrow, and again, if you are willing to, stand by me for the rest of the day, you're all welcome here. And we've got a fantastic set of sessions lined up for tomorrow as well. But we are not done yet. We have a networking session over wine and cheese in Hall 3, which is right across the speaker's lounge. So that's where we will head after this. But one last, I think this panel deserves a big round of applause, right? Thank you so much, guys. It's been a pleasure having you over here and having this discussion. Sorry, Shashwat, if we really pushed you a little. But we will uncover new businesses as well. So thank you very much, and all the very best for your brands. Thank you, guys.